morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Spanglish Sports World English edition here on the Spanglish World Network and Singo TV's channel 249 and 250. Remember that to please go to the iOS and Android stores to download the Singo app, where you will be able to see all our programming from both our partner stations, Spanglish Sports World, Spanglish World Networks, and the Her Network, the Women's Network. Great programming in there. Also, want to remind you that Singo TV can be acquired through and watched through Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Amazon Fire TV sticks, as well as Roku and Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Well, great week in the sporting world. I am going to start today by recapping yesterday's MLB action, starting with the Texas Rangers defeating the Tampa Bay Rays 5-4. Exciting game right to the last inning. Amazing game. Great plays. Some would say that that has been a major factor right now. But we'll see what happens, because the Texas Rangers are making a battle for the West Division in the American League. And the Rays, as you know, they are never out till the fat lady sings. We are continuing the stories. The Brewers defeat the Diamondbacks 5-1. No surprise there. The Diamondbacks are having one of those seasons that you might as well call it quits before it starts. An interesting development in the American League Central Division. The White Sox defeat the Tigers 9-8. No one expected the Tigers to be in that battle, but it did go strong, and it was Jose Abreu, the hitting sensation of the White Sox, that culminated that game with a slamming triple into the wall in right field. And well, I would suggest that you watch the highlights of this game, because it was outstanding. In other action, we had the Royals defeating the Twins 14-5. The Twins are in a tailspin. Everyone thought that they would compete for the Central Division in the American League, in the American League, and it's just not working out. The Reds defeat the Cardinals. That's another matchup that who would have expected the Reds to defeat Cardinals at this point in the season. The Cardinals, one of the most stacked teams in baseball, but it's early in the season, so we'll let this one slide for the Cardinals. The Athletics defeat the Rockies. No surprise there. Kevin Maeda, outstanding game yesterday. So, we'll see what develops there. The second game goes on today, and another interesting matchup with two pitching rookies making their debuts. The Angels defeat the Mariners. Now, interesting game. And as you know, the Angels have an arsenal. His name is the great Korean arsenal that they have there. And he keeps coming up with big hits and big pitching games. So the Mariners had no chance going into Anaheim, knowing that they were going to face him. The Giants defeat the Cubs 8-5. The Giants are just a power machine this season, and well, it's not strange to see what happened there. And here is the story of yesterday's games: Padres and Mets. Manny Machado with the bat, Snail, Snail with the pitching powerhouse as the Padres defeat the Mets 2-0. Well, let's now head on to a, a little bit of seeing what's going on around the league, and the stories that are making a little bit of a trick here. So here is the story. Uh, so we know that pitchers over the years have tried uh, to help themselves out with certain non-interest, using substances to enforce the ball, the the pitching routine. But now there is a new controversy: the way the pitchers grip on the ball. Now, um, and now everyone's saying, do we have to actually figure out what's going on in baseball? So here comes the story coming out of Sports Illustrated by Stephanie Epstein and Alex Prewitt. The inside story of how rampant pitch doctoring in MLB is pumping pitchers up and deflating offenses. To understand the fiasco of baseball 2020 season, which people around the game describe as solid by rampant cheating to a degree not seen since the steroid era, all you have to do is pick up a ball, then try to put it back down. One ball is made its way to the NL dugout last week, where the players took turns touching the palm of the sticky material coating and lifting the baseball adhered to their hand into the air. Another corralled into an L National League dugout had clear enough fingerprints indented in goo that opponents could mimic the pitcher's grip. A third one, also in the National League, was so sticky that when the opponent tried to pull the glue off, 3 inches of the seam came off it. So here is the thing. We know that over the years, this has been a standard. Now, that Major League Baseball is making a mess out of this 30 or 40 years after, hey, what's going on? They are picking at every single rule, they are picking at every single instance. Are we playing baseball, or are we a certified business of investigation? Because everything is an investigation in baseball these days. Everything is trying to speed up the game, everything is trying to do something, and they are concerned themselves more with what's going on in the field than the idea that they are losing their fan base because there is no appreciation for the game any longer. They have changed rules to speed up the game. The walkouts to the pitcher's mound. Then they said, well, in extra innings, it's too difficult to play long games, so they put the runner at second to start in the extra innings, making it more difficult for the pitcher to compete. Then there is, you cannot slide and to try to stop a double play, because it's sliding into the defensive player might cause an injury, so they lose a player. Oh, okay. But baseball that has been the story of baseball since it started in the early 1800s. So why to change the rules now? There is no reason to change and try to speed it up. There is no reason to take away the stuff that made baseball a great game: a sliding to home plate, hard so that the catcher has to make a play. You know, everything is thoroughly a disruption. And what can I what can I tell you? It's not proper. It's not really proper. Uh, but uh, this is how it is. So let's let's focus on how to keep the fans in the ballparks, and how to keep the attention of fans on the waves, through streaming, through TV, through whatever you want to do. I would even tell you, since the movie theaters are not at a full capacity yet in anywhere in the world, hey, why not make an alliance with Cineplex Odeon or First Famous Players across the lands, and transmit baseball games in the movie theaters, uh, to make it more attractive for people, you know. But I guess they are not interested in that. Major League Baseball is interested in only making money at the expense of the fans, without giving them excitement any longer. Let's move on to the next story, and that is, the Red Sox acquire three prospects to complete the Andrew Benedetti trade. Nearly 4 months ago, after trading Andrew Benedetti to the Royals as part of a three-team swap, also involving the Mets, the Red Sox announced that they are acquiring outfielder Freddie Velez. And we know Freddie Velez because Freddie Velez was here in Toronto, from the Mets, and right-hander Grant Gramble and Luis de la Rosa from the Royals, as players to be named later, officially completed the trade. The Red Sox acquired outfielder Frankie Cordero from the Royals, and minor league righty Josh Winkowski from the Mets at the time of the trade, which also sent outfielder Cale Lee to the from Kansas City to New York. So Freddie Velez, great prospect from the Toronto Blue Jays. 19 years old, in rookie ball in the Gulf. He has been going between rookie ball in the Dominican Summer League and a Gulf Coast League. The Mets signed him for 1.4 million bonus as a 16-year-old out of the Dominican Republic back in 2018. In his lone season of a Pro Bowl, he hit 274 with a 367 on base percentage and a 448 slugging percentage, with 18% strikeout rate and a 1.4% walk rate. In the other case, De La Rosa is a great prospect as well. So is Gambrel. Let's move on and let's see the story that is coming up right now. And the story says how to solve MLB's maddening mound visit problems. And this is by Joel Sherman of the New York Post. And he says, the story starts like this. I want to discuss the mound visits. I know MLB has much larger issues than mound visits, but let's see if we can make a case for where this fits into the larger context of the obsessed leadership of the sports these days. Not only a pace of play, lack on field action issue that often are intertwined. Mound visits are on my mind again because the Rays were at Yankee Stadium for 4 games, and if my calculations are correct, though teams are allowed just 6 visits per game, somehow Tampa Bay pitching coach Kyle Snyder went out 41 times for a total of 1 hour and 6 minutes. And though I would not accuse the Yankees of a copycat envy of small market genius persistently demonstrated by the Rays. Suddenly, in these 4 games, I saw pitching Matt Blake more than any other, more than in any other 4 series combined. Now, they again the story with the walkouts. This is strategy, ladies and gentlemen. Why do we have to speed the game of baseball? The game was fine. People were watching the game. People love going to the games. Uh, the more people are in in the stands, the more you sell food, the more you sell anything that goes on. So you want to sell merchandise. That's how you sell merchandise. You don't change what's working. So let's be concise and leave the game the way it has been played for centuries. We're going to move on to the next story in baseball because it's now this is a story that I really, really appreciate from Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball offers free tickets for COVID vaccinations. And this is a story that makes sense. Finally, Rob Manfred has come to his senses. Instead of he's trying to protect his his players, he's trying to protect the game. How are we going to get people back into the stands in across Major League Baseball? People have to be vaccinated. So if people want to get vaccinated, each of the 30 teams will host at least one event in June where unvaccinated fans will be able to receive a free ticket to a game if they get the COVID-19 vaccination shot at the event. Teams will have flexibility to construct a giveaway to their own specifications, including where the event is hosted, when in June it takes place, if the tickets are good for that day's game or a game later in 2021. The teams will also work with local healthcare provider or a national pharmacy provider to administer the shots and provide the necessary on-site health and safety precautions. Fans will find more information at MLB vaccine. That's a great, great, great idea. Finally, something has come up in a great situation for Major League Baseball. This will get their image back up again with all these players. So let's look at it now. Here we go with the game that I told you about from yesterday, and this is the Padres against the Mets. Padres win the game 2-0, and it was Blake Snell that allowed one hit over 7 scoreless innings, and Manny Machado drove in both runs with a first inning homer on a bases loaded walk. The San Diego Padres defeated the visiting New York Mets 2-0 on Friday night. Snell, Pierce, and Mark Milacon combined for a 3-hit shutout. Snell, 2-2, who walked 1 and struck out 10, retired the first 14 Mets he faced and didn't allow a hit until Francisco Lindor opened the 7th with a line drive single to right, advancing to third when the ball skipped off the glove of Padres left fielder Tommy Pham. So, great game, great story, but that's how it ends. 2-0 in favor of San Francisco of the Padres over the Mets. Here we go to the 5-2 victory of the Red Sox over the Yankees. And it's another gentleman from Curacao, Rafael Devers, who hit a 3-run homer in the first inning, and Boston ended an 11-game losing streak at Yankee Stadium in the first meeting of the season in New York. Pitcher Nathan Eovaldi allowed 2 runs over 6 innings, moving his record to 7-2. Eovaldi, remember, won 23 games with the Yankees in 2015 and 2016. So it's a great comeback for Eovaldi at Yankee Stadium, but that's where it ended. The game between the Brewers and the Diamondbacks, interesting story. Freddie Peralta, the pitcher for the Brewers, took a no-hitter into the 8th inning and struck out 9 as Sergio Milwaukee sent visiting Arizona to a club record 15 straight road defeat. So here, with regards to the vaccinations, again, it's another story coming out of Major League Baseball. 2/3 of the MLB teams reach 85% vaccinations and relaxed protocols. 2/3 of Major League Baseball's 30 teams have been able to relax coronavirus protocols after 4 additional clubs qualified and raised their total to 20 franchises reaching 85% vaccination for players and other field personnel. The Commissioner's Office and the Players Association said Friday that the 2 additional teams had reached the 85% level of having received the final doses and will be able to relax protocols with the next 2 weeks once they are fully vaccinated. Relaxed protocols include dropping the requirement of face masks in the dugout and bullpens, loosening the restrictions on mobility during road trips. MLB said 85.2 of Tier 1 individuals, such as players, managers, coaches, trainers, and support personnel, have been partially or fully vaccinated, up just 0.7% from the previous week, and 82.9% had been fully vaccinated, up 1.7% from the previous week. There are 2 positive tests, one of a Major League player and one of a AAA player among the 9,291 tests in the past week, a 0.02% positive rate. So far this season, there have been 64 positive tests, 36 players, 28 staff, amongst the 185,551 sample tested. The positive tests are among 25 teams. The Chicago Cubs said Friday that they will move to 100% capacity at Wrigley Field starting on June with a June 11 game against the St. Louis Cardinals. Only Texas among the 30 teams began the season at 100% were permitted last year because of the corona pandemic. Atlanta went to full capacity on May 7. So, a story coming out of Ben Nicholson of Sportsnet says that pitching is the most obvious need for the Blue Jays at the trade deadline. Suggests that the Blue Jays should look to add Kevin bench help as well, as because of the injuries that have hampered them to George Springer, Alejandro Kirk, and Kevin Biggio. And adding another bat would guard against any future injuries. Significantly, a left-handed bat would also balance out Toronto's lineup that leans heavily to the right. And if for Toronto fans who remember San Gaviglio, he has landed a contract with the SSG Landers of the Korean League. He will be making his debut in the next week in Korea. South Korea. Let's move on now to the NBA, and the NBA is a hot topic right now. The Clippers forced Game 7 behind Kawhi Leonard's late heroics. Reads the story that appeared in SI in SportsIllustrated.com. The first round series between the Clippers and the Mavericks, that has seen plenty of twists, took another turn on Friday's night's Game 6 behind the star performance of Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers will live to fight another day. Los Angeles took down Dallas 104-97 to force a Game 7 at home on Sunday, thanks to the Leonard's second half eruption. The two-time NBA Finals MVP scored 45 points, the most in franchise history when facing elimination. Leonard shot 18 for 25 from the field with 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. He also spearheaded a defensive effort that kept the Mavericks offense at bay for the most part. Dallas shot 41% from the field, with a start point guard, Luka Doncic, limited to relatively a quiet 29 points on 11 for 24, including just one three-pointer. Reggie Jackson, Clippers guard Reggie Jackson, delivered in a key spot with 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists on an 8-for-15 shooting. Paul George scored 20 points with 13 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks. The game was back and forth most of the way, and the Clippers held a 90-88 lead with just 5 minutes remaining. A 10-2 run over the next 3 minutes virtually put the game away and sealed the win for the Angels, for Los Angeles, with Leonard scoring 8 of 10 points. Game 7 will go on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Stay tuned for that game. The Portland Trail Blazers have agreed with Coach Terry Stotts to part ways. The team announced on Friday. I have the utmost respect for Terry and what he has accomplished these past 9 seasons. The Trailblazers president in basketball operations, Neil O'Shea, said in a statement, "This was a difficult decision for both a personal and professional level, but it's in the best interest of the franchise to move in another direction." Stotts leaves the Blazers as the franchise second winningest coach with 402 regular season victories, while the 63-year-old produced an impressive 402 and 318 regular season record. He repeatedly failed to guide Portland into the playoffs despite making eight straight postseason appearances. With Portland's latest elimination at the hands of the Denver Nuggets, the team has now failed to advance past round 1 for the 4th time in the last 5 campaigns. Los Angeles Clippers assistant Chauncey Billups, former NBA coach Jeff Van Gundy, Brooklyn Nets assistant Mike D'Antoni, and Michigan bench coach Johan Howard are among expected candidates to fill the vacancy. The Blazers starred Damian Lillard, who was only has been coached by Stotts since entering the league ahead of the 2012-2013 season, will play a significant role in choosing his successor. And that's reported by Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. And here we go. we know Magic Johnson has been a great player over the years and uh, a great individual and a great owner. But when Magic Johnson speaks, people listen. And he came out yesterday uh, saying Schroeder lacks winning mentality and attitude. Speaking about Dennis Schroeder. And he says the Los Angeles Lakers legend Magic Johnson doesn't believe Dennis Schroeder fits well with the purple and gold. Schroeder, I don't think he's a Laker. That's just my opinion. I don't know if they are going to sign him back or not. Johnson said on Friday during a radio appearance at AM 570 LA Sports. I don't think he brings the winning mentality and attitude that we need. And he had the chance to show that in this series. And to me, he failed in this series. But again, if he comes back as a Laker, I am going to support him. I am going to cheer for him and that and all that. But just I don't think he's a Laker. Now, that's an amazing, amazing, amazing story coming out of the comments coming out of Magic Johnson. I mean, no one has been a more powerful in with the LA Lakers, and the response from Schroeder. They've got the top two players in the league. I want to be here and win a championship, Schroeder said. According to Greg Beckham of the Associated Press, that's not even a question. I am not about money. If everything is good, we are going to come back and win a championship next year. Schroeder reportedly rejected a 4-year, $80 million contract extension from the Lakers in the campaign, averaged 15.4 points, 5.8 assists, and 3.5 rebounds in 61 regular season appearances. Well, we'll see what happens here. And we continue with the Lakers. And now the story comes to LeBron James. And the story comes out of Joseph Casario. Out of the Score, he says LeBron James being eliminated in the first round feels like a changing of the guard in the NBA. It is not the first time that a defending champion was eliminated in the postseason opening round, and though James hasn't lost a non-finals playoff in 11 years, it is worth remembering. LA missed the playoffs in 2019, but there was something about the way the Lakers season unfolded and the way the Suns brutally beat them in games 5 and 6 and feels different for LeBron's led team. That's not to say you should ever doubt King James, even down nearly 30 points in game 6 and without Anthony Davis. You couldn't be sure the Lakers' run was over until the time officially ran out. Plus, James is under contract for 2 more seasons. Davis is signed until potentially 2025. And with those two healthy and on a court, the Lakers remain the best team in the Western Conference and one of the best in the NBA. So, now, ladies and gentlemen, everyone talked about the Toronto Raptors dismay last season. Everyone have talked about different teams in the NBA. But you have to remember, no player is infallible. Every players like LeBron James, King James, gives everything for his teams. Wherever he has gone, he has been successful. A player has an off season. A player plays with his heart. But to say that he is turning over he's out already, no, he is not even close. LeBron James gets better as he ages. He's one of those mythical monsters, mythical legends that just get better as time progresses. Um, I would love to say that he's turning over the crown, and probably that to Kawhi Leonard, but it's not happening anytime soon. LeBron James will come back next season, have a fantastic season, and most likely help the Lakers to another championship. Because with Anthony Davis at his side, there is nothing those two cannot do if they are healthy. Now, let's look at what's going on in the NBA as a whole. Let's look at the NBA playoffs right now as they stack up. So we have Sunday, Game 7 between the Clippers and the Mavericks. Game 1 of the Bucks Nets series goes on today, and let's be honest, that's probably the best series you will see in the NBA. That this could be a championship game anywhere. You are looking at the two best lineups in the NBA, and we'll see what happens there. Tomorrow you have the 76ers and the Hawks. And I would pre-warn the 76ers, don't dismay the Hawks. The Hawks are a team that battles, and they will find a way to come back on you if you give them the opportunities. So that's a series that you have to be looking for. And we'll move on. Game 1 of the Nuggets and Suns goes on Monday, and we'll be waiting for that one. So we have one series ending, Mavericks and Clippers. Watch out. If I know Kawhi Leonard, from what I have seen of him and what I know of him, the Mavericks have to be very careful and protect against him, because he can destroy you in many, many, many ways, as it was seen here in Toronto when he was part of this organization. So I am going to move on to MLS soccer, and Roy Hobson. Everyone, if you are not familiar with Roy Hobson, said that he's open for any opportunity in the MLS. So could we see Roy Hobson manning the sidelines in the MLS? The former England manager says he's open to the idea, as per a recent interview with Cyrus XM FC. I think football seems to be coming on in leaps and bounds in the USA, and at the moment, there is no doubt that what has been done in the MLS is paying dividends. Hodgson said, I see a number of teams growing every year. I see attendance figures are becoming quite enormous. They are matching teams in the Premiership. Hodgson experienced a lengthy career that's seen him coach all over the world, most recently the Premier League's side of Crystal Palace and his native England from 2012 to 2016. He announced his decision to step away from full-time management at the end of last season when his Crystal Palace contract expired, but urged to stay around the sport is eventually still here. So we'll see what happens. Could be. It's interesting to see where he might end up. I can see a couple of teams that might want might need someone like him. So we'll see what evolves in that story. Sporting KC received more offers for Gianluca Muzio from Italia. That's reported by ESPN's Taylor Tolman. The source as a Dutch club has held talks for Busio, as well as while expectations there be more bids this summer. SKC would have the player on their team control through 22 with a club option. Florent. So the teams in Italy that have shown interest as Fiorentina, Sassuolo, Parma have approached, as well as some of the top teams in the Netherlands. We'll see what develops there as well. That's another story that we will have to follow. So Charlotte FC rejects La Liga bid for Sergio Ruiz. The Charlotte FC has rejected multiple offers for midfielder Sergio Ruiz, including the latest one from La Liga club. From at least one La Liga club, tell sources at MLSsoccer.com. Charlotte have no intention of selling the Spanish midfielder prior to the club's inaugural season, MLS in 22. Ruiz spent the year on loan at UD Las Palmas in La Liga 2, Spain's second tier. He was among the league's best players with 5 goals and 6 assists in 37 appearances. The midfielder had previously excelled at Racing Santander before Charlotte made him the first ever signing in July. He held the Racing promotion from the third tier to La Liga 2 during the time of his boyhood club. Now we go to other news in the MLS. Continue here with the LA Galaxy defender Derek Williams being suspended for 5 extra games by the MLS disciplinary committee. LA Galaxy defender Derek has been suspended for an additional 5 games for a total of 6 in total by the MLS disciplinary committee for serious play following his red card tackle of Portland Timbers midfielder Andy Polo in the match between the teams at the Providence Park on May 22nd. Williams has also been fined an undisclosed amount as a result of the play, which occurred on the 44th minute and eventual 3-0 victory for the Timbers. Williams served his mandatory one-game red card suspension on May 29 during the Galaxy's match against the San Jose Earthquakes, and will serve his additional 5 matches suspension on the following dates: June 19 versus Seattle, June 23rd versus Vancouver, June 26th versus the Earthquake, June 4th versus Sporting, July 4th versus Sporting, and July 7th versus Dallas. The disciplinary committee has also issued an undisclosed fine to New York City FC midfielder Nicolás Acevedo for his failure to leave the field in a timely manner after receiving a red card in the 86th minute of the New York City FC's victory over the LAFC on May 29. So Commissioner Don Garber made a couple of visits this month, including a visit to San Luis City SC new stadium under construction that will be ready for the 2023 season. And he was overwhelmed with the stadium. He says that it's one of the most dynamic stadiums that he has seen. It will have a capacity of 22,500. A centerpiece of a wide range stadium district that will expand into the surrounding area where the venue is under construction in the city center of San Luis. That's amazing to hear, and we hope to visit that stadium when it's finally built in 26. 5 MLS teams happiest to see the international break. We arrive at the first major international break of the MLS season, which means that there are several teams out there going into problem-solving mode. While the clubs on the rise always hate to see the schedule temporarily put on ice, those struggling to find a form or fitness will look at 2-week league hiatus as a chance to cure their ails. Which clubs are the most in need in MLS breather? 5 names quickly come to mind. Austin FC, after an encouraging start to the MLS membership, Josh Wolf's scrappy bunch need another reset. Last weekend's scoreless draw at Seattle was a solid result, but it also their first point in a month and ran their goal-shy streak to a worrisome 353 minutes. While Austin FC finally gets an open Q2 stadium to open their stadium in second quarter, it would be nice to regain a momentum in their June 12th trip to Sporting KFC between now and then. The break is a chance to get back at what made them so exciting during the season first few rounds. Inter Miami also looking for a break. A couple of players are out, and hopefully they will have those players reuniting. The other team that needs a break is the San Jose Earthquakes. They have a bunch of injuries, and they have to be able to recoup. And the last team, is the home side of Toronto FC. Some teams are scoffing. Others have injuries wounds. They like to melt away. The Reds have both. Then some worry about these days. Namely, figuring out what to do with Josie Altidore. Toronto FC have a lonely win to start the Chris Armas era, and it's reasonable to surmise the turnaround is at hand if Alejandro Pozuelo gets in the starting lineup for the first time this season. He's not the only guy using the breaks to get fit. Jonathan Osorio is yet to be involved in consecutive league matches this term, but he's reigning Landon Donovan, MLS MVP. They are also still waiting for Jefferson Salteado to get off the mark after the winger, highly touted, moved to from Brazilian side Santos. So let's go now and look at what's coming down the pipe, and we have a USA versus Mexico in the Nations League final. And let's remember what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Leagues, CONCACAF League Nations Final. Let's go back to the Copa de Oro last season, where the US side faced Mexico at Soldier Field. This hasn't been a very successful entrant for the US national team. They have problems facing Mexico, and we are in the midst of what's going to be. But first of all, there is something that has to be discussed, and that's the immunization of of all sides being participating in this. Uh, so let's see what will happen. It's still undefined uh, how this will develop. Let's look at the next story. It says Leon Messi agrees to stay in Barcelona and join MLS in 2 years, a report says. Leon Messi has agreed to stay with FC Barcelona for 2 more years before making his move to the United States, according to a new report from Double Amarilla. Doble Amarilla. Barcelona agreement will span 10 years with the Argentinian star. The first 2 years, he will play for Barcelona. The next 2 years, he will play for Inter Miami, while simultaneously serving as an institutional ambassador for Barcelona. And then 6 years, not as a player, but as an ambassador only. He will earn 240 million euros for his first 4 years of the agreement. Inter Miami, who's partially owned by David Beckham, are in their second season of existence, and the report says Sergio Agüero could also join Messi in Miami after his contract with Barcelona expires. Elsewhere, Fabrizio Romano reports that the deal is not done yet, but Barcelona are only finishing up certain details that are confident to the agreement that will be done. So that's another story coming in. I want to do a quick recap of what's going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs, because after their departure from the playoffs, there is still a lot of questions in the mark, and one of the biggest ones is Morgan Riley, the assistant captain and defenseman for the Leafs, who doesn't have a contract yet. Here are the interesting story. Tyler Bozak, 2000 team, and James Van Riesdijk are free agents. Jake Gardner is a free agent. Ron Hennessy, Tyson Berry, and Cody Ceci, Zach Hyman, and Frederick Anderson also are possible walkouts. But Morgan Riley, one of the most consistent defensemen this team has, needs to be signed, and Riley's agent has been at it, and July 28th is the deadline. So we have to see this. Well, with this, we end the show. Let me remind you that this show can be heard across the Spanglish World Radio Network and its affiliates on social media. Let me remind you as well that to go to our website, SpanglishSportsWorld.com, for all the news stories by all our great writers and hosts. And remember, Spanglish Sports World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, but especially live it, because Spanglish Sports World is sport, and sport is Spanglish Sports World. In the name of my co-host, Ari Shapiro, we will see you here next week. And until then, please remain home. Please remain safe. Please remain at home in the company of your family during these pandemic times of COVID-19.